The rage, that's the message from Mikel Arteta. What do you think?
Yeah, of course the message will be like this. As we know with Jamie, it's not that easy. You know, a season can be classed as a very good season, and then all of a sudden after 2 games, 2 bad results, you know, we can question your season, and I think this is where they are. Massive game against Paris. I'm not sure many people will count them, you know, to go there and win. If there's a team that can actually do it, is them, because what we've seen, you know, over the years is when they are on the front foot and very aggressive in their opponent's face. You know, I've seen them play against City one-on-one at the back, you know, and very, you know, much aggressive. So if they can bring this to Paris, of course they have a chance. But if they play like we've seen them today and the last few games, then I think there's a concern, because there's a lack of energy, intensity. Of course, the desire to win is there, but you know, at this level, you need to do more than this.
Gav, the title is long gone, but have they given themselves a problem at the back end of this season, failing to beat Brentford at home, failing to beat Palace at home, and now losing to Bournemouth? Because games that they could have probably dismissed,
of course,
with second place in the bag, now they can't.
Of course, obviously it's just a picture and it's just a big screen, but if you look at the next few games, you wouldn't argue to the fact that I'm going to tell you City can finish second in front of Arsenal if you look at the fixtures. And this is the situation they found themselves in. You know, you lose the game in Paris, the spirit is down, and then who knows what's next. So this game should have been a given at home. I'm pretty sure the fan would have wanted the 3 points, but you need to do more than that. You know, of course you're going to create chances. I've heard Mikel saying that they open, you know, their opponent today, they create chances. Is it enough? It's not just enough to do. You have to kill and you have to win games.
Jamie, if Newcastle have got these 2 games before Brighton away, Chelsea home, before Arsenal go to Anfield, and then it's Newcastle against Arsenal.
So, yeah, in other words, if Newcastle,
they win those 2 games,
they win all their games, they finish above Arsenal.
Yeah. So you know, second place. How big of a deal is it for Arsenal to say we've been runners-up in the last 3 seasons?
I think it's huge for them now. What you don't want at this stage of the season is it for it to unravel and end up being a really disappointing season. I think if they finish second, they can turn around, you know, get to semi-final of the Champions League. They maybe, you know, they could take that as a lot of positives. But not finishing second when Manchester City have been so far off it, but maybe they could creep ahead of you. And Newcastle, who have been, you know, fantastic, really, they've won the Carabao Cup as well. But you just don't want that. That sends the wrong message going into the next season, and it's not the end of it you want. You know, they've been at times brilliant. I think about the moment in Bernabeu when they played, you know, Real Madrid over 2 legs. They've somehow got to find that spirit again when they go to PSG on Wednesday night, and that's why it's such a huge season for them, a huge game for them. Because if they were to lose, then these other games become really hard. The Newcastle one, there'll be a little bit of, you know, not the feeling that you want, the positive feeling that Gail was talking about at that home game. So they've got to make sure they get a good result on Wednesday night, which is going to be a cauldron. It's going to be very difficult for them. They've got to find it within themselves to get something.
And this Jamie Redknapp, the former Bournemouth player, Jamie Redknapp. Do you think that's a big shot in the arm then in terms of this push for Europe? Now with 3 games to go.
Yeah, they had a difficult period where they lost a few games, drew a few games, but every single time I watched them, even when they lost, they were still magnificent. The way that they played, they performed. A couple of things went against them. Even last week against Manchester United, you know, they're 1-0 up. Even Nielsen gets a red card. But the way they reacted today, and they obviously made really good substitutions. Semenyo came on and we felt that he had a real impact on the game. We found out that he's got the longest throw we've ever seen. But that helps, you know. But all the things they do it so well. They lose the ball, they go and chase it really quickly. I like the way that Brentford, I like the way that Bournemouth play. They're different in their approach. They know that they sometimes can't outplay teams, but I tell you what they do, they outwork most of them.
Did you notice their belief growing in that second half, Gail?
Yes, I mean, some angle it seems like he's touching his arm, but we've been trying to find, you know, for the last 15 minutes and we can't see it. What we can say is that the way Odegaard is defending is very odd. I can see that he's trying to make, you know, contact, so there's no run from the player, but that's not the way to defend. I think I will be more concerned about how they defend both set pieces rather than this situation.
Okay, but you could see why Arsenal would be unhappy about that potentially, and they would say that's come on off his elbow.
Yeah, of course, absolutely, but it's not conclusive. And we've been here, Gal and I, for 10 minutes trying to see exactly. And when it's not giving us an on-the-field decision as a goal, is there enough evidence to overturn that? I would have to say absolutely not. And what we don't want is VAR already, upsets enough people. We don't want to like 6-7 minutes looking at different angles. It just doesn't feel conclusive. If you were to say, and if you speak to Ivan Nilsson, he's probably the only person that could tell us there. It does look like it hits the underside of his arm.
Or the hit,
because it's hit something relatively hard. Because if it's hit his bicep, the back of it, it wouldn't have enough power or momentum to get where it does. So it can only really have hit his elbow or hit his hip.
The hip bone, yeah.
So. But again, we've been here for Gail and I had 10-15 minutes to look at it. We don't want the game to be like that. It doesn't feel conclusive enough. I've got no doubt whatsoever Mikel Arteta will be furious about it and he'll feel that it definitely shouldn't have been given. But as I say, it just doesn't feel conclusive to me.
That's an interesting point that Gail makes, isn't it? It's about the defending of the set piece that Arsenal should actually be concerned about rather than which part of the body it goes in.
Yeah, and there's been a couple. Certainly the first one, the second one, and this has been a bit of a reoccurring film. When you look at it, when you look at their set pieces, 48% of their goals have been conceded from set pieces. Wolves, Manchester United, we all spoke about the problems.
Premier League average, Jamie, 26%.
Absolutely.
Of the set piece that Arsenal should actually be concerned about rather than which part of the body it goes in.
Yeah, and there's been a couple. Certainly the first one, the second one, and this has been a bit of a reoccurring film. When you look at it, when you look at their set pieces, 48% of their goals have been conceded from set pieces. Wolves, Manchester United, we all spoke about the problems.
Premier League average, Jamie, 26%.
Absolutely. But we all talk about Arsenal's being magnificent, offensive set pieces. The detail they get into, they need to work harder on this. And there are certain things that can stop you winning a title. And this certainly would be one of them, because a set-piece coach gets a lot of plaudits for what he does when they score goals. I don't know his impact on perhaps the defensive ones, but I can only imagine he does the same thing with them. But they are definitely not good enough. In fairness, they miss Gabriel as well. He's a massive player when he plays in terms of set pieces because he's a leader, he heads it. But they didn't deal with either the set piece that cost them the match today very well.
But even on the goal, you can see the first run on the first post, the aggressivity to get that ball, and the second phase with Odegaard. Like Jamie said, you need to work on this and you need to make sure that you're on it, because you are on it to score, but you need to be on it when it's time to defend as well.
Right, OK, so 2 set pieces costly for Arsenal in that second half, and it's a huge victory for Bournemouth. They'd never won away to an Arsenal side before in any competition. And let's speak now to the first goal scorer, Dean Howson, who joins us live from the Emirates. Congratulations to you, Dean, on your goal, the performance, and a really impressive victory as well. How much belief was there in the squad going to Arsenal tonight that you could go and win?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we knew that we'd never gotten a point here, and that. Yeah, I mean, in the first half, I think with phases we were good. With phases, they were also probably better than us. And in the second half, yeah, we put more rhythm into the match, and it worked.
Dean, Jamie Redknapp, congratulations. I want to talk to you about your goal. We were amazed by this long throw that Anton Semenyo has. Did it surprise you? You found yourself in a really good position here, like that second phase for the head. Just talk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't expect